Hey everyone, Jeff here, and today I'm going to give you my predictions for what I think is going to be released on 4K Blu-ray in 2025. I have a really good feeling about 2025 for 4K Blu-ray. I had a really good feeling about 2024, and it's been a great year so far. So, based on some things I know, some anniversary dates, some 4K restorations that might have been happening or have been announced to have been happening but were never released, I'm going to make some predictions on what I expect to come out in 2025. And these are not just, I want to see these come out. These are not just blind guesses. Putting some thought into this when I was making this list and trying to make educated, good guesses based on information that we have and who the rights holders currently are. So to start, I went back to 1975 because 2025 will be the 50th anniversary for any film that came out that year, and a 50th anniversary is a pretty big deal. Now, we already have Jaws on 4K and it's wonderful, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of 50th anniversary special edition come out. We also have the 50th anniversary of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is a movie I desperately want to see on 4K, currently owned by MGM, which is now Amazon, but they have a pretty good deal going with Kino Lorber, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest would make a ton of sense for Kino. So I think there's a possibility that one comes out in 4K and probably from Kino Lorber. I also know that Warner Brothers loves a good anniversary, and Dog Day Afternoon is celebrating its 50th anniversary. This could be one of their manufactured on-demand type titles where they don't give you a slipcover or anything, or they could potentially license this one out, but I have a strong feeling that one could be coming in 2025. And finally, this feels like a bit of a no-brainer because we've had other Monty Python movies like Life of Brian, but I think that Monty Python and the Holy Grail is probably a lock for 4K in 2025. 50th anniversary, it's got Studio Canal behind it, and then it will most likely be released by Lionsgate in the United States because that's who has the deal with Studio Canal over here. So I expect that one to come out as well, and I really hope it does. And finally, from 1975, if Criterion still has the rights to Barry Lyndon, which I am not 100% sure of, I think that is probably a good yes for a 4K Criterion Collection release next year. It would be the 50th anniversary. It's a Stanley Kubrick film. A lot of his other films have already been moved over to 4K. This one would make a lot of sense. It's a fan favorite. Criterion has been upgrading a ton of their stuff to 4K lately. I expect to see a lot of 4K transfers from them next year, and Barry Lyndon's probably going to be one of them. Now, one film I think is a lock, but may come out in 2024 is Seven. That's the David Fincher movie. It's been talked about coming to 4K for literally years and years and years. We've talked about this. He's doing a restoration now, apparently, but those take a very long time. I don't have a ton of faith in it coming out before the end of the year, given that it's already June and we haven't heard anything. It could sneak in 2024, but I think it makes a lot of sense to go to 2025. Now, a film celebrating its 25th anniversary that I'd love to see is The Perfect Storm. I recently revisited this for an upcoming episode on my podcast. By the time you're watching it, this may already be out. House of a Thousand Movies. Check me out. Spotify, everywhere you can get your podcasts, plus right here on YouTube. And while I was watching it, I realized, first of all, that The Perfect Storm is not on any streaming service. So I had to get a digital rental, and I didn't want to buy the Blu-ray, even though it was only $8 or $9, because next year's his 25th anniversary. It's a Warner Brothers title. It was a huge, huge movie for them. Over $200 million at the box office in the year 2000, which was big. Big name stars with Mark Wahlberg, George Clooney, John C. Reilly's in it. I mean, it's got big names behind it. I think it makes sense. And I did ask Warner if they had any plans. Of course, nothing at this time is typically the answer, but I feel like that's one, given Warner's track record of releasing those anniversary releases, that could come out. And this is just a personal favorite and a film I'd love to see DreamWorks do. But I want to get Chicken Run on 4K. Chicken Run, if you didn't know this, Chicken Run is the highest grossing stop motion movie of all time. And I think that still holds true, especially if you adjust for inflation. It came out in 2000. It's the stop motion, basically kids comedy, but kind of more mature. It's by the same people who did Wallace and Gromit, I believe. It had a sequel last year that came out on Netflix, which I think was just completely undersold and dumped on streaming. Kind of sad, but I would love to see that original. The stop motion movies like Paranorman and Coraline look incredible when they're remastered, and I'm really hopeful that DreamWorks will go out and give Chicken Run its due. Now, if we go back a little bit older, one movie I could see coming out is The Furies. And again, this is Criterion, Paramount. It's a Paramount movie. Criterion put it out previously on DVD, but that was back in 2008, I believe. So this could be another Paramount Presents. This could be one that they license out to Criterion, but I think think it makes perfect sense. It's an anniversary for the film. It's a pretty big name film from that time period with a lot of big names attached to it. It should look fantastic remastered on 4K. All those things just kind of seem to make sense that we would get this movie eventually on the format, so why not tie it into an anniversary? And in the same vein, Paramount, also 1950, Sunset Boulevard. I think this one is also a lock for somebody, hopefully. You know, again, I say a lock, but sources have to be good. We have to have the restoration dollars to go do it, right? And all that stuff. But 75th anniversary of a classic Hollywood film would look great in a Paramount Presents line, would look great as a Criterion, would look great with a lot of different labels if Paramount did license out what they're doing a great job of lately. But I think Sunset Boulevard's one we probably need to see get to 4K. Now, one movie that's pretty much been confirmed for 4K, but I think is going to sneak into 2025 is Amadeus. That has been, again, rumored for a long time. Now it's officially coming, but there's been no official release. Again, I don't know if it'll squeeze in for 2024, but if it doesn't come this year, I would say that's a lock for 2025. Now, if we go back even further, how about the 85th anniversary of Fantasia? Now, I know people at Disney watch my videos, and if you're watching, Fantasia is a film that deserves all of the releases. Give me everything. But I want 4K, I want Dolby Atmos, I want that presented at its absolute best. And if you can remaster Cinderella to look as good as that looked, Fantasia's only 10 years earlier. You could do the same. Snow White looked incredible. Give us Fantasia. 85th anniversary. The technology is here. Disney doesn't do many releases anymore, as you guys know, but they do have an easier manufacturing and production process now with Sony in place. So maybe they'd be more willing to do things like this. I had a ton of 20th Century Fox stuff on my list, and I don't think any of it will happen, but I think Fantasia, that 85th anniversary, is going to be too good to pass up. And I hope that they put something out. Another one that I think would make a ton of sense is Ghost. This will be the 35th anniversary. It already has a Paramount Presents Blu-ray release. There was a 4K film transfer. This one's been out for a few years now. It was one of the earlier Paramount Presents. I think it came out 4 years ago. So it would make sense now to do a 4K upgrade, especially if the Paramount Presents line sells well and they've got the money to do it. I think Ghost for the 35th anniversary makes a ton of sense for that line. Now, on the Disney front, again, you will see more Disney and Marvel TV shows. Those Steelbook releases that they've put out for Obi-Wan and for Loki and for WandaVision and The Mandalorian sold like crazy. Disney's not going to turn down that money. So eventually, I think you see releases of Ahsoka or Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, maybe some more, maybe like a What If Marvel Steelbook on 4K would be really cool, especially with that animation, a couple of those seasons. So I guarantee in 2025 we see more of that. What exactly will come to the format probably depends on timing, right? So it's probably got to be it's got to be at least a year removed from release, if not 2, for them to put it on physical, because they still want to drive Disney Plus, but I would expect some of those to come for sure. Another film celebrating its 35th anniversary that I pray to the Warner Brothers gods gets released is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That 1990 live action film just is incredible. It's seriously, in my eyes, it's one of the best superhero comic book movies ever made. It's so good. I recently rewatched it. It holds up. The practical effects are great. I still love the turtle suits. They look really, really good for the year that this movie was made. And it's just one of those movies that I grew up on. It's the 35th anniversary. It deserves the world in my eyes, and I hope it gets 4K, HDR, the full treatment, Dolby Atmos. I want to hear the turtles in their shadows running through the sewer like in full Atmos. I want that. So if it doesn't happen, Warner Brothers, you're missing an opportunity. It's a great time to do it. There was a new Turtles movie last year. Now this one's with Warner. Right now, Teenage Mutant Turtles, that lives with Paramount, but Warner still has the rights to that first movie, and I hope they release it. And also from 1990, Dances with Wolves. Now, this is a movie that obviously was huge. It was massive. I think it won Best Picture, right? So it makes all the sense in the world. It should be restored. I hope it's being restored. Even if it doesn't come to physical media, I hope it's been restored and saved somewhere with the nice 4K transfer for a digital backup. But Again, it's the 35th anniversary in 2025. It's an MGM title. I think, again, makes perfect sense for Kino Lorber's line and their customers. It's not necessarily like the biggest mainstream movie, but I mean, it was when it came out. But now, who's going to buy that on 4K? I think it's like Kino's audience, which I honestly think tends to skew a little bit older, would make a ton of sense for Kino. So I hope that one comes. And then I'm going to take a couple shots in the dark here at the boutique horror movie labels because they're impossible to predict. Like I would not even try to predict the Vinegar Syndrome title here because who knows what they're going to come out with. Like they get some really cool movies that I would never expect, like Showgirls. Who would have expected it? But I'm going to take a stab in the dark at one Scream Factory and one Arrow Video title to come to 4K. For Scream Factory, I'm going to go with Terror Train. 1980, so this will be its 45th anniversary. It's got Jamie Lee Curtis. It's one of the most underrated slasher movies of all time, and it's one of Scream Factory's earlier Blu-ray releases. So the slipcover's been out of print for a long time. It's been out there for a long time. I think fans of the movie would love a 4K release, would buy it up. It's a cult classic. If you've never seen it, it's really, really good. I watched it last October again, revisited it. Held up. David Copperfield's in it. It has a twist that honestly, it got me the first time I saw it. Still, I didn't know about it, so go in blind. It was really, really well done. And it's sort of this mixture of, it's the stuff that made Scream so popular with the who is the masked killer. That's not any spoilers. There's a masked killer and it could be anybody on the train. And it's also this like one location horror movie piece where they're on a train and it's holiday based because it's New Year's Eve and it's got a Scream Queen and Jamie Lee Curtis. It's like, it's so good. I hope it comes to 4K. And then in 1985, we had a Reanimator. And that's a title that Arrow has the rights to, or at least did, because I own the Blu-ray release of that and Bride of Reanimator. And I think this would be a great time for a double feature set. Reanimator's on its 40th anniversary. You could tie it in Bride of Reanimator. There's been chat online that the director had been working on 4K transfers going back a couple years ago. So I think they exist or they were being worked on. It was one of the biggest selling titles Arrow Video put out. I remember like 10 years ago when that Blu-ray came out, how hard it was to get. I had to track down a secondhand copy of Bride of Reanimator and scored that limited edition before it went out of print. It was really, really popular. So I imagine fans of the genre would eat that up again on 4K. So that's my shot in the dark guess at Arrow Video. So that's what I've got for you. Those are my predictions for 2025. Again, a lot of this is based on timing and anniversaries because that's what we see. That's marketing. You tie it in, you call it an anniversary edition. It sells better. Also tied into what I think would actually sell. There's a lot of great movies that'll probably come to 4K or get 4K masters, but they may only get released on Blu-ray. Or they may only go to digital because maybe they're not going to be big enough sellers for physical media. So you have to think of movies at the level of The Perfect Storm, which is $250 million, or Dances with Wolves, which is like $400 or $500 million. You have to think at that level. So those are my guesses. I'd love to hear your predictions, or if you don't have any predictions, just what you'd love to see come to 4K. And hopefully more people watch this, share it, like this video. Maybe it gets out there. Maybe a few people see it. Maybe they get some ideas from this video. I don't know. It would be great. Maybe we influence something. They would never tell me that I did or anybody on the internet did, but I know they're watching and it would be really cool to get something. If I have my vote, it's TMNT. Give me that one, please. But we'll see what happens. So thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed here on the channel for all the latest in movies, home entertainment, and physical media. Of course, follow me on social media and on Instagram. All those links are in my video description as well as right here in the QR code. And there's also links in there to my new podcast, House of 1,000 Movies, and the newsletter that goes with it, also called House of 1,000 Movies, which go out every Wednesday. I've had a great response so far. So if you haven't jumped on the newsletter and the podcast, check it out. Those links are right here as well. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy out there, and I'll talk to you soon.